Chapter 5. A Safe House. "Hold on," he says. "I forgot to put the Do Not Disturb notice on the door." I hear my patient put the receiver down, cross the room, open and close a door. I hear the muffled sound of him walking back, and I imagine his hotel room. I calculate the time. It is 5:45 p.m. in Brussels. He picks up the receiver. "I'm so sorry. I should have done that before I rang you. I was thinking about something." I hear him take a sip of tea or coffee and replace a cup in its saucer. "Do you know what a safe house is?" he asks. He tells me that he'd watched a segment on the BBC about Americans who are building safe rooms or deluxe safe houses. You can imagine the snide, anti-American tone of the segment. Look at what those kooky Americans are spending their money on now. But the effect on me was precisely the opposite of what the producers intended. I was moved. One scene in particular struck him. A father and his teenage son sitting on the floor of the father's bedroom. The father shows his son some of the things he keeps in a cupboard box under the bed: a water purification kit, a multi-band self-powered radio, a reel of fishing line. He tells his son that after the apocalypse there won't be any supermarkets where you can buy fish. My patient feels close to this man. The father is spending all of his savings trying to protect his family. He just wants to feel safe. It's mad. He's mad, but I understand it. He tells me he's worried that he is like that father, always preparing for some calamity. I hear him take another sip. "I'm just as crazy, always thinking about my house in France," he says. "I've never told you about it." The first thing he wants me to know about his house is that it isn't grand. It's not some imposing chateau. It's a farmhouse, really, surrounded by fields and forests. It has about it that deep silence you find in the woods in Scotland, the very opposite of London. There's no noise, no disturbance. He doesn't have to see his neighbours' big banker houses. In fact, several weeks before, he received a letter from the council about his London neighbours' request for permission to develop their already vulgar, overblown townhouse. He couldn't think about it. He was that angry. Of course, he should have written to the council to object to the development. But I couldn't. My wife had to do it. I thought about the house in France. That calmed me. And there are times, like just a few minutes ago, when his wife leaves the hotel room, before it's time for his session to begin, moments when he's alone, when he will imagine himself in the house in France. It's not time to ring yet. There's a space, a gap, and the next thing I know, I'm gone, lost in my mad architecture. I ask him what he means by mad. He says that what makes it mad is his incessant tweaking, his reconfiguring. He thinks about redecorating, remodeling, adding rooms, doors, windows. What would the view be like if I changed the shape of this room, turn the house on its foundation, or move it to the top of a neighbouring hill? I do a lot of that sort of thinking. And then there's the bargaining. He tells me that it is very difficult for him to talk about all this, much harder than talking about his depression or his panic attacks. He's not surprised he's telling me about it during a telephone session. It is easier this way, less embarrassing. This evening, for example, after his wife Anna had left, and while he was waiting for the start of our session, he had imagined trading everything he has to make the house just right. He would give up his home in London and all of his possessions, probably his position in the government too, but what he would get in return was this: an income of £500 per week, and also the house exactly as he'd like it to be. The aim of these negotiations isn't to get something luxurious, quite the opposite. Friends would wonder why he had downsized to this plain house in the deserted French countryside. Why had he given up so much comfort? We'd become inconspicuous, modest, utterly unenviable. I hear him take another sip. It's my safe house, he says. If he's stuck in some pointless meeting or some crappy hotel by himself, or he's in London and Anna pops out to the shops, he imagines himself in his house in France, or he thinks about some possible alterations. I tell him that feeling cut off or separated from Anna seems to make him feel anxious and angry. Separation unsettles him. He may think about his house in France in order to recover his equilibrium. I hear him take a sip and return the cup to its saucer. I thought you were going to say that I think about my house in France when I find reality intolerable. But yes, he tells me, separation does disturb me. After Oxford, he says, but before going to Harvard, he and Anna spent the summer in Italy. Up until then, he'd only been to Paris a couple of times. Travelling about from town to town made him anxious. He couldn't shake off the uncomfortable feeling that somehow he would lose Anna, that he would turn around and she'd be gone. Every morning, before leaving their pension, he'd make her promise that should they become separated, she should immediately make her way to the city centre, to the steps of the cathedral. That was their meeting place. Whenever I imagine the house in France, I picture Anna in the sitting room, waiting for me. It's like the cathedral, our meeting place. I hear him moving around the room. Don't worry, Mr. Gross, I'm pouring out some more tea. I'm not in the bathroom. Some days, he tells me, he is continually thinking about the house, visualizing a different color of paint in this room, a larger doorway in that room. He sketches floor plans, views of the interior. Today, during a meeting, he sketched a view of the hallway, from the front door towards the kitchen. If I were to ask him what's in the larder, he could tell me every item on every shelf. But mostly he thinks about the rooms, their reconstruction, their proportions. It's ridiculous, he says. He knows this house better than his home in London. It must be an escape from the real world, he tells me. The house in France must be connected to some make-believe place he invented as a child. He despised his parents' drunken rows, his mother's tantrums, her violent temper. I was always in a book or a daydream, trying to get away from the noise of their fights. You'll probably say I was trying to get away from the noise of their fights and my hatred of them, and that would be true. He tells me he's embarrassed, ashamed that he can't sit in a hotel room for a few minutes on his own like a normal person. I don't understand it, he says. I worry that my architecture undermines my sense of reality. Maybe, I say, but it could be that your architecture helps you to preserve your sense of reality. You're not thinking about your house in France all of the time. It seems to be something you do when you're cut off, frightened or angry. That's a very charitable reading of what I'm trying to describe, but I'm not sure. It doesn't explain my incessant redecorating or my bizarre haggling, the "I'll give up everything if only I can have" whatever. No, I say, it doesn't explain his bartering. That seems more like the sort of thing a frightened child might do. I hear him move again, perhaps stand up. He tells me that there's a story by Joyce. He thinks it's in Dubliners. He read it during his first year at university, but he hasn't looked at it since then. The ending was upsetting, too disturbing. At the end of the story, the father, who has been drinking, returns home and discovers that his wife is at church and his son has let the fire go out. The father's going to have to wait for his dinner, and the little boy tries to calm him down. He tells his father he'll make him his dinner, but the father won't be appeased. He gets a walking stick, rolls up his sleeves, and then starts to beat the little boy. There is no escape. The drunk father keeps hitting the little boy over and over again. There is blood. The little boy is begging, and then the begging turns to bargaining. "Don't beat me, Pa. Don't beat me, and I'll say a Hail Mary for you. I'll say a Hail Mary for you, Pa, if you don't beat me." That's how it felt when his mother slapped and punched him. "Don't hit me, Mummy. I'll be good. I'll be a good boy, Mummy." And when that didn't work, he tells me, "I begged God. Stop her beating me, God. Stop her beating me. I'll be good. I'll give you anything, everything, if you just make me safe. Please, God, please." I hear him breathing. I have the sense he is trying not to cry. He says, "Mr. Gross?" "Yes?" "My house has a magic door." A magic door? A year earlier, he'd been on a long-haul flight that had a stopover in Hong Kong. An hour after leaving Hong Kong, there was a bang, then the sound of wind rushing through the cabin. The oxygen masks released. The plane dropped rapidly from 30,000 feet. He believed he was about to die. I thought that if I could just get up and open the cockpit door, I'd step into my house. I could be home, safe. I was about to take off the oxygen mask and undo my seat belt when the plane leveled out. A stalled underground train, a traffic jam. He can get up and walk through the door into his house. A lot of his thinking is about the magic door. What does he have to give up to have it? "It's crazy," he says, "isn't it?" I tell him that I don't think it's crazy. A little boy who is being punched would give anything for a magic door. I don't think much about my childhood. When I do, I don't remember a great deal. It all seems so long ago, dead. I think to myself, that was my childhood, not that is my childhood. It's not alive in me. Neither of us speaks. After a minute or so, I suddenly worry that we might have been cut off. "I'm still here," he says. He is silent for a moment. "According to my watch, our time's almost up. I don't want to say any more now. Tomorrow I have a drinks party that I have to attend, so I'll have to stop 15 minutes early. I'm very sorry. Thank you for letting me know." "Mr. Gross?" "Yes?" "I don't really have a house in France. You do know that, don't you?"